Good morning and welcome to our community affairs program that we call 30 Minutes. Today our special guest is Brother Dan Huggins, and believe it or not, we're going to talk about the feeding of 5,000 here in Obion County. Doesn't seem like it's been many months ago that we were just talking about this.
You know, it just seems like it was exactly this time last year.
I would have to agree. I would have to agree. And what year is it for you in overseeing this project?
It's 2024.
Yes. You've already told me that twice this morning. You're on the road.
No, this is my 10th year to get to participate in the feeding of the 5,000.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things are looking up and are easier for you and those who do help make this become reality, because when we went through the COVID times, I know it was a struggle for you to find all of the food and things that you needed to make this become reality.
I'll tell you what, the stress level seems to go down just a little bit more, for me anyway, every year. And part of that is due to the fact that there are churches and there are groups that look forward to doing this and getting to participate in this. So they already make the commitment even a year ahead that, hey, we're going to provide this particular item that's going to go in the grocery bags. And the biggest challenge for us as the Obion County Ministerial Association is always trying to find the chicken and the hams to go in the bags. And fortunately this year we've been able to locate that and have it. So the stress level is way down. We've got a lot of people participating this year. I've already had people call and wanting to volunteer, so I'm looking forward to it.
That is great. Well, let's back up, because from last year's time to this year's time, of course, we have new listeners. We also have a new way of getting the information out with our new YouTube page, which you can hear all around the world. And so, Brother Dan, I just want you to go ahead again and introduce yourself to those who are listening today.
I am Dan Huggins, and I have lived in Union City, now going on, ending our 19th year here in Union City. And so this is our home. For 11 years, I was the pulpit minister at the Exchange Street Church of Christ, and in 2017, January of that year, several of us planted the Refuge mission that meets in the Obion County Fairgrounds. And so this is one of the things that we get to be involved in, and working with other churches and people in the community, and something that I look forward to every year.
And remind us, how did it fall into your lap to take this over? Because the feeding of the 5,000 has gone on in Obion County for many, many years.
It has, and honestly, I don't know the total history of the feeding of the 5,000, except that for a long time it was at the First Baptist Church here in Union City. And when I was approached about taking it over and overseeing it, Hattie Lou Brown had been doing it for years. And I know at one time it was a sit-down Thanksgiving meal that they would do. And that kind of morphed over time into handing out to-go boxes, and then they replaced that with just giving out grocery bags. And so when she approached me about doing the feeding of the 5,000, I was still at the Exchange Street Church of Christ. And she wanted me to do it because we had been doing Soul Food Cafe there. And so I told her, again, this ministry is so much bigger than any one person or any one church. This really needs to be a community involvement ministry. And so I approached the Obion County Ministerial Association about coming on board and kind of overseeing the feeding of the 5,000. At the time, we had been doing a Thanksgiving Day Soul Food Cafe at Exchange Street. And so we were able to combine the Soul Food Cafe for Thanksgiving and the feeding of the 5,000 all on one day. And we moved that to the Tuesday before Thanksgiving every year. So every year it's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The feeding of the 5,000 is from 10 to 3, and we give out grocery bags. And those grocery bags, I'll talk about that in a minute. And then from 5 to 7 that evening, we have a traditional Thanksgiving meal. So really what we've done is combine the original concept of a sit-down Thanksgiving meal along with how it kind of morphed over the years into giving out grocery bags. So we have both of those on the feeding of the 5,000.
When you were at Exchange Street, you were having the sit-down meal then, though, weren't you?
We were, but it was on Thanksgiving Day.
Oh, on Thanksgiving Day.
Mm-hmm.
And for those, again, who may be listening, there may be some who want to know what exactly is feeding of the 5,000. How did that originate?
Well, I mean, the feeding of the 5,000 originated with Jesus.
Right.
In Matthew 14, he was preaching to a bunch of people, and it was getting late in the day, and the disciples said, "Hey, these people need to go on home so they can eat." And Jesus said, "There's no reason for them to." And the thing in Matthew 14 that always gets me is Jesus told the disciples when they came to him and said, "Hey, we need to kind of wrap this up." You know, it's kind of like when people on Sunday morning are waiting for the preacher to get through preaching so they can go eat lunch. And so the disciples came to Jesus and said, "Hey, you might want to wind this up a little bit. People are getting hungry." But the thing that gets me, and I think the point for us is, of course, there's a great miracle that Jesus does. But the thing that I think is important is what Jesus tells the disciples. He tells them, you give them something to eat. And so he puts the responsibility on the disciples. And I think today that it is our responsibility as Christ followers to make sure that we're the ones who are giving people the things that they need. And of course, the blessing came from Jesus turning those loaves and fishes into enough for everybody and then some. And so the blessings that we get from the community on the collecting of goods or the donations that we get, then we are able to take that and we give people things to eat. And so it's the hands and the feet of Jesus, but we're the ones that are actually carrying that out. And that's our responsibility as Christ followers.
And you've told me through the years, as we have talked about this, that you have learned that there are people right here in this community who need something to eat.
Yeah, it always amazes me. Just at the Refuge, we get anywhere from 10 to 15 requests per week. People wanting to come to our food pantry or needing assistance with food. We try to help as many as we can. We're a very small group of people, but there are other food pantries in town. And, you would think in a nation as wealthy as we are that people wouldn't be going hungry, but that is not the case. And it's unfortunate that there's so many people who are in need and are hungry. And we could talk about the reasons why and all of those things, but ultimately we have to look at the person. And Jesus said, if you just give someone a cup of cold water in my name, then you've done the right thing. You've received your reward. And so that's what's important, is to somehow look past the circumstances of the person and the reason why they don't have anything to eat, and just make sure that we meet that physical need and show them the compassion and the love of Jesus.
And the dates this year for the feeding of the 5,000 have been set for November.
Yeah, November the 26th
Right.
is the day that we will actually give out the groceries and have the Soul Food Cafe for that. And that's always the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
And as you say, Thanksgiving's coming a little late this year,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yes, it's kind of at the end of November this year.
It sure is. Again, today we are speaking with Brother Dan Huggins about the feeding of 5,000. What are some of the biggest challenges that there is in pulling off a ministry like this?
Oh, there's always the logistics of that, and part of that is making sure that everyone knows that the things that they are donating need to be at the fairgrounds on a certain date or before that. And this year we've said we would like everyone to have their donated items brought to the fairgrounds either before or on November the 15th. And that allows us then to start packing the bags the following week. So one of the challenges is just making sure everybody gets their stuff there on time. And of course, everybody can't do that. We do have a couple of different groups that actually bring things on the 18th and 19th. And so we have to sort those and then add them to some of the bags that may have already been packed. So that's one of the challenges. The other challenges that have been really tough in years past are securing the things that go in the bags, like getting the hams and getting the chicken from the different distributors. And of course, another challenge that we have is having to ask people for money, because one of the things that we do, everything that goes in the bag is donated with the exception of the meat. And the Irvine County Ministerial Association provides the meat. And of course, with the rise in cost, it's going to cost us somewhere around the neighborhood of about $7,600 this year to put the meat in 1,500 bags. And we will probably go beyond 1,500 this year, because we've had another group, St. John's Mental Health. They've asked us for some bags, and we're glad to do that. So we'll probably go beyond the 1,500 bags this year. So those are some of the biggest challenges. One of the challenges that has really come about in the last couple of years, and this is a good thing, we have so many volunteers from the community that want to come and be a part of this, and we certainly invite that and are grateful for that. But we have several different youth groups that come, and they pack so many bags at the time that they are there that we can knock out packing the bags pretty quick with all these different groups coming. So one of the biggest challenges that I have is saying, okay, y'all have to stop, because we have some other groups that want to come and do some packing. So during the week, people show up on their lunch break and they want to pack bags, and we certainly need them to do that. And so trying to put all that together and having enough different things for people to do, that has been one of the things that has been a big challenge for me. And of course, every year we do have the coat giveaway, and of course the radio station is helping with Town and Country Cleaners and getting those coats and bringing them to us. And so we have the sorting of those coats and hanging them up and all of that people can help with that week. And so those are just some of the challenges I have going into this.
What a challenge to have so many volunteers. Isn't that
Listen,
wonderful?
this community, it amazes me. And every year it just seems like more and more people. I had a lady text me this morning from a homeschool group at 6:15. Thank goodness I was up. And, wanted to know what their homeschool group could do with helping out with the feeding of the 5,000.
Wow.
And so we've got several, like I said, youth groups, and those kids absolutely love doing this. And it's good for them. They're serving people. They're being involved in their community. So they're learning lessons early in life about serving people and being a part of the community.
Absolutely. Brother Dan, go ahead and describe, we keep talking about the bags. Describe what a bag is. What's in that bag?
So we're very grateful that E.W. James provides us with the grocery bags. And these are the old paper sacks, okay, the big paper grocery bags. And in each of those bags are the primary things that we put in there, and the primary donations that come from the different churches associated with the Obion County Ministerial Association. So the OCMA provides the meat, and we either put a canned ham, or 2 cans of canned chicken. There are also green beans, corn, either mashed potatoes or mac and cheese or some kind of stuffing, candied jams, and some type of dessert, whether it be cookies or little Debbie snack cakes or something like that. There's also a can of fruit in there. Those are the primary things that go into the bag, and all of those items come through different churches who have committed to donating those items. Then there are additional things that we get from different groups in the community. For example, Union City Elementary and high school and middle school, they usually do a collection, and so we'll go and pick that up, and we get all kinds of things donated through that, and so we'll take those items and we'll distribute them among the bags as well. It may be soup, or it may be a can of baked beans, or it may be a can of there's no telling, ramen noodles, and we will fill those bags just as full as we can, and so every bag. We try to keep up with it, and each bag is worth, if you were to total up everything that's in there, is about $60 worth of food in that one bag. We start out by saying that one bag will feed a family of 4, one meal, but then there's additional things in there that will go far beyond that.
And there's no obligations or strings or anything to receive a bag for the feeding of 5,000.
The only thing that people have to do is show up. And we have volunteers on the day. We have created a data system and a data bank. The Bridge of West Tennessee provides volunteers. People come in and they register. Based on the number of people in their family is the number of bags that they get. And so as far as bringing any kind of proof of income or photo ID, they're not required. You know, that's one of the things that I feel that is just the right thing to do when it comes to giving people the bare necessities, and that is there are no strings attached. Right. We're doing this because we love them and we care about them, and we're not looking for anything in return.
And I have been there to the fairgrounds on the day of distribution, and it's really a great event because you have pastors on the scene who offer prayer to people who come in to pick up their bag and get a coat.
Yeah, and that's not required, but if someone wants prayer, we certainly want to be available, to not only meet their physical needs, but to help them with their spiritual needs as well. And again, that's not an obligation. If they don't want us to pray with them, we won't pray with them. But we have lots of pastors and just lots of Christ followers who are there that day who care about people from all different kinds of churches in our community. And we have so many people in our community with big hearts that they just want to be there to offer prayer for people. And
volunteers to help some of the older people get their bags to the cars.
Yes, we have people who go out of their way to come that day. They'll even take off work and they'll come that day just to help people tote their bags.
Sure will, and it is. It's a great event. It's a great scene for sure. So, are there other events that go on with this feeding of 5,000 there at the scene?
Well, so as people come in and they get their bags, they're also, if they need a coat, we'll have volunteers that will take them and allow them to get a coat. Mm-hmm. They'll get their bag. When they come out, then they're asked if they would like someone to pray with them, and they can do that, and then they can go on their way. Later on that afternoon, at 4 o'clock, the Boys and Girls Club comes, and we will feed them a meal and allow them to get in and get out and go on their way because they have to get back. And then at 5 o'clock that afternoon is when we have our Thanksgiving Soul Food Cafe. Mm-hmm. And that is a traditional Thanksgiving meal. Once again, lots of people come and help. The Union City baseball team always shows up and helps us bust the tables and serve. We have numerous churches that help along with the contents and the menu items. And it is we have turkey, we have ham, we have dressing, we have candied yams, we have mashed potatoes, we have green beans, we have corn, we have rolls, we have desserts. And I mean, it's just, it just amazes me that the amount of food that we have to offer to the community and everybody that comes through the line. It doesn't matter who it is. They are so very appreciative and thankful. We talk about Thanksgiving. Right. People are genuinely giving thanks that day, and they see how much this community cares about them.
And you've told me before how many you actually feed during the sit-down meal. Isn't it around 700 or so?
Yeah, we will hand out between 700 and 800 plates. It just depends. Now, during the COVID years, it was a little less. Yeah. Based on our Soul Food Cafe attendance so far this year, I would say that we're gonna be right back at the 700 mark.
That's amazing. And as far as the bags, the equivalent, how many do you think you'll feed with the bag meals?
Well, the 5,000 comes from 4 people or 4 family members per bag, and we have given out 1,500 bags. Mm-hmm. So the math there is around 6,000. Yeah. And if we do another 100 bags this year, then we're looking at around 6,500 people or more that will benefit from the grocery bags.
Unbelievable. Why is this important to you and other pastors in the area?
The thing that if anybody knows me long enough here in Union City, one of the most important things to me, besides obviously leading people to become Christ followers, is unity among believers. And whatever I can do to promote that, that's what I want to do. And I see so many different churches coming together and working together, spending time with one another in the kitchen, handing out the bags, doing whatever it is, the setup, the takedown, the cleaning. It's people of the same faith coming together for one purpose, and that's just to show people in the community Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And the more that we can do that as a group of Christ followers, the better we are. And I challenge every church in this community to have a part in working with one another, because Jesus prayed for unity, and he prayed for unity so that the world would know that the Father sent him. And I know, being in ministry as long as I have, that there are Christians who are not going to see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay. There are people in our church that I disagree with. They are Tennessee fans, and I can't stand that. I don't know how they fell into that hole, roll tide. So we don't have to agree on everything, but we all agree that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and that's the most important.
You mentioned back earlier in the program that it does take financial donations to make this possible. Are you still in need of those?
Absolutely. We've got to raise $7,600 to pay for all the meat that's going to go into these bags. And if someone would like to make a donation of $1 or $7,600, we will gladly take that, and it will go to a great cause. I would ask that people send that to P.O. Box 904 here in Union City, P.O. Box 904, and just make the check out to the OCMA or the Refuge, either one. It will all go to the same place, and that's P.O. Box 904, Union City 38281. Yeah. And we would very much appreciate that, because that's the only way that OCMA has of raising funds. We don't do the Thanksgiving service or the Easter service anymore, so this is the only way that we have of raising those funds.
As far as your other canned goods and things of that nature, say, does this church do this role and this church do this role and this church? So you know who's bringing what and when.
Yeah, we've got different churches that have volunteered to provide green beans, corn, yams, fruit, whatever that goes in the bags, but the OCMA has to provide the meat that goes in the bags.
Mm-hmm. What about your sit-down meal? Because that is actual food cooked and prepared on site. Where does that food come from?
Different churches.
Yeah.
We have several different churches that have volunteered to provide the turkeys and hams. Different churches provide the mashed potatoes, some provide the rolls, some provide all the desserts. And so again, it's Christians from different denominations across those lines that have decided, hey, we're going to work together and make this happen to serve our community. And so they will bring, some of them will cook on site, some of them will make their items and bring it, but it all comes together there at the Refuge and at the fairgrounds.
Now, when did you start the planning on this for this year's event?
Last year.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. And again, a lot of that comes from people who participated in years past saying, hey, next year we want to do this, or, let us be involved this way, or would like to help with this item next year. And so people have just really taken hold of this, and so it really doesn't belong to the OCMA, and it doesn't belong to the Refuge, and it certainly doesn't belong to me. It belongs to our community, and so that's what makes this ministry so successful.
But instead of a startup event, you're in there now where it is easier to get things going. Everyone knows their role. Is that correct?
Yes. And people will come in there and they will just jump in and take it. And I am so glad, because in years past it has been a very stressful thing, logistics-wise, trying to get all that to come together. But now everybody knows their part and has a part, and it just works out great.
This year's feeding of the 5,000 here in Obion County. We are talking to Brother Dan Huggins. It will take place this year on November 26th. Anyone who would like to make a financial donation, which is very much needed for this project, can do that by sending it to P.O. Box 904 in care of OCMA or the Refuge Church here in Union City. And Brother Dan, it's been a pleasure to talk to you again, and it will be a success.
Oh, yeah. Just the fact that people are coming together and working together and helping their neighbors, that's making it successful.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And that concludes this week's 30 Minutes program. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And, of course, we invite you to tune in again next week at this same time as we bring you topics and information of importance to our community. From all of us here at Thunderbolt Broadcasting, until we meet again next week, I'm Charles Choate.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.